Welcome back to the Future Self podcast. Welcome back to season 2, episode number 2. Today's episode, conversation, podcast is going to be about all things perspective, mindset, and expanding your ability to see things more than just the surface level or your first initial thought. Perspective is, in my opinion, the literal dynamic or area that dictates pretty much everything in every single person's life. It is the dictating factor between those who work hard and those who don't, those who are successful and those who aren't, those who are progressive and those who aren't. Positive situations, negative situations. Gaining something from an event or seeing it to be regressive. Perspective is ultimately the way you view and perceive an event or a situation and how you process that in your mind to either serve you, regress you, benefit you, or be a burden towards you. There is always yin and yang when it comes to perspective. There is always a minimum of A and B, left and right. There is always two options for every single situation, at least in my opinion. Through my perspective, the perspective of the GL way, the perspective of the Future Self podcast, Future Self living, there is always two different categories or situations that can be seen or that can come from every single event. Perspective is one of the fucking hardest dynamics and situations that I experience with those that I work with one-to-one. It is one of the slowest progressing factors. It is one that you can hear about and learn about, but it's one that really thrives and benefits from experience. The exposure to experience is 9 times out of 10 going to have someone learn perspectives or become consciously aware of perspectives compared to anything else. You can read about it on an Instagram post. You can read about it in probably most of my Instagram captions. A lot of stories, celebrities, those 30-second reel clips you see, you can hear them, you can find them, you can just access so many of them. But reading without understanding or learning without application is a situation that just doesn't change anything for you. When it comes to perspective, I want you right now to just sit for a second and have a think if you view most of the situations you experience to be in a positive light or a negative light, a progressive light or a regressive light. Just take a second to have a think. Now, just because you feel that you see it in one area doesn't mean you don't ever experience the other. I'm sure you experience both. I'm sure you have had even just a situation today where you have felt completely negative about it or completely positive about it. But the way your perspective works is the choices you make in response to a situation. Now again, I'm going to cover my own ass here because things are more complex than that, and I fucking know that. I'm aware of that. I understand perspective isn't always just a choice. If something shit happens to you, it's not always just choosing the mindset that, okay, whatever, it is what it is. That shit takes time. Our perspectives are molded from our childhood, our experiences, our relationships, our goals, the good things that happen to us, the bad things that happen to us. It's literally the byproduct of however many experiences and years you've been on this earth, molded to serve you now, serve you in some way. Your perspective does serve you. If you have a negatively biased mindset and perspective, from a surface level, you might say, well, it doesn't serve me, I'm always negative, but it does. Everything serves you, and it comes from a place of having purpose for you, whether that's to protect you, whether that's to give you a scapegoat, whether that's to allow you to navigate a situation that's tricky and almost convince yourself that it's the right thing to do, but there is a serving purpose for the perspectives you have. Now, I didn't want today's episode to be you listening to how positive my perspectives are or how progressive I take every situation. Today's episode is not based around you just listening to me fucking grilling you that your perspective sucks and mine is the best. That's not it at all. I'm trying to elevate and highlight the difference that every single situation does have an A and a B. So how we experience that situation and how we perceive it, our perspective on it, can be a choice. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy. Doesn't mean it's that simple. But you can choose it more and more. And like anything, through the stepping stone method or the exposure therapy dynamic, the exposure to experience can have things change over time. My perspective over the years has fucking gone from complete left to complete right. It's forever evolving. I might have something as simple as a conversation that changes my whole perspective. I might experience one situation that changes my whole perspective. I might see something that changes my whole perspective. I'm not sitting here saying this is how I've lived and thought for the past fucking however many years. It's forever evolving, but it's forever evolving to serve me. Now, I posted something on my Instagram the other day, and I just want to read it out to you because it was the difference in perspective when it comes to struggle with achieving a goal and how you can view it in different lenses to serve you. Some people might suit the first lens, some people might suit the second, but I'll read it out, and it was explained through an analogy, and I'll explain it a little bit. When the desire to achieve the goal isn't high enough, look behind you at what's going to happen if you don't. So already there's a highlight of two different perspectives. Either there's a desire to achieve a goal, which is why you work hard towards it, or you're motivated because of what's going to happen if you don't work towards or achieve this goal. Explaining a different perspective that the want might not be intense enough to do, but the burden of not doing might be bad enough you do. It was explained in this analogy. The mouse might not move as fast when there is cheese in front of it, but it would fucking run if there was a cat chasing it. Still running to point A, just differently. So what that explains is there's two perspectives. There's the perspective of I want to do it, I'm motivated, I'm going to work towards that goal. Or there's the perspective of if I don't work towards that goal, if I don't change, if I don't progress what I'm doing, this is going to happen. Like it finished off with, both perspectives have you moving to point A. You're still going to get to point A, but it's a different mindset to help you and serve you getting to that position. It's either through the want and the want being strong enough, or it's either through avoiding the burden and making sure you don't experience that. You still get to the same place. You still get to the same destination. You just view it differently. Talking from a personal standpoint and a personal perspective, a lot of the people I work with in coaching have different perspectives, which is a fucking given, right? We're all individual, complex, and different human beings. There are times I like to play the devil's advocate, or in some cases, the angel's advocate, just to align the saying, and share a different perspective on what someone is thinking. Because when you're wrapped up in a situation, it can be really fucking hard to see it any other way. But a simple conversation, a simple sentence from another person could change so much for you. So for example, if I have someone tracking their food and they're tracking really hard, perfectly, and they're not losing weight, their initial perspective could be, well, this doesn't fucking work. I'm working hard, but it's not changing. I'm really doing different and it's not doing anything, completely disregarding that there's still a progressive aspect in that situation. They might sit there and think it's a waste of time, it's regressive, it's not serving them in any way, disregarding that they're learning about food, they're understanding nutrition, they're keeping themselves accountable, they're adhering to a goal, they're showing up for themselves. Same situation, but the perspective is different. For instance, in another example, it could be not achieving the lift you wanted to achieve. You could call yourself weak. You could call yourself shit. You could say you're not good enough. You could really self-punish and self-bash and brutalize what you aren't good at and why you didn't achieve it. Or you could have the different perspective that, okay, I didn't get it today, but that's now serving me as a motivator for next time. There is literally a million different pathways that I could express different perspectives in this conversation. There is always different fucking perspectives for every single situation you experience. Oh, it was actually really hot, so I had to take my hoodie off, but I'm back. Now, it's a Friday morning. I had a few sessions this morning, and I was chatting to someone I work with about the perspective that they're working really hard on themselves, but the people around them aren't. And they had this clash in their mind that it was causing frustration for them that the people around them wasn't working the same as what they were. The people around them weren't learning as much. They weren't diving deeper below the surface. They weren't exploring more complexity in a situation. They weren't leveling themselves up. And that was the single perspective, right? It was that view. It was really taking up a lot of space, energy, and time in this person over the week. Yet all it took was for me to say one simple sentence, and it was literally, I hear you, but you're on your journey because you're ready and they are not. And this person just sat there for a good minute, and I could dare say it was semi-mind blown or almost just very mindfully expanded in that situation because they hadn't been able to see the opposing perspective. They hadn't been able to see it different to how they were looking at it. It was a simple sentence, and the response was, holy fuck, you're so right. Holy fuck, I didn't think of that. Holy fuck, that's so true. So there's a projection of me I'm putting onto them. And I said, well, to be honest, I'm not going to say what you were and weren't doing, but I'm just trying to give you a different perspective. It's like when someone says they're weak because they miss a lift, but then they disregard how strong they are emotionally and how strong they've been overcoming every goal. It's like when someone says they're not good enough to do this one thing, but they've been through the same thing fucking 10 different times and they're not seeing it through that perspective. I have had, again, to get personal, to talk about myself, to be vulnerable, to allow relatability to come from. I have experienced big deaths, financial struggles, bad past relationships, troubles with friends, fucking this, and this. And I've been given so many different opportunities to play the victim, to feel it all to be regressive, to pour me, to use it as a scapegoat to do bad. But I didn't choose that perspective. I chose it different. I wanted to look at it differently. I wanted to choose to have it serve me, to benefit me, progress me, level me up. I wanted it to do good things for my future, because why the fuck would you not? Like, same as I've said in previous episodes, we have such a short time on this earth. In reality, why would you not want it to be the absolute best it could be? And sometimes the difference between someone putting themselves in a depression or thriving is a simple choice of perspective. Sometimes the difference between a week being completely fucking ruined and it just being a 5-minute situation, it's based on perspective. There's that literal saying, every cloud has a silver lining, because it's true. Yin and yang is the literal fucking rooting factor that confirms this, that everything has opposition. There's always opposing. The universe balances itself out perfectly. And through my eyes, I couldn't agree more. I see that to be true. There's always going to be the present possibility for two different perspectives, minimum per situation, but we always close ourselves off to just see one. We always throw in a level of arrogance to just choose one. Some people don't have the strength necessarily to be able to see more than one, but that's why talking to people is important. That's why absorbing information is important. That's why exposing yourself to material is important. Talk to people, listen to podcasts, read a book. If you live life through your eyes and your perspective only, that's a fucking dangerous situation. Now, if you're someone future self living and killing it, great, but it's not going to serve you as amazing as it could if you expanded your mind to more perspectives. If you're someone struggling or flat or down in the dumps or very self-harsh, that's not going to serve you. And you have that choice. You have that ability. Another conversation I had this week, and it was again based on perspective, because most things all stem back to perspective. Someone that I worked with earlier in the week said, it's so fucking hard to get up in the morning and train weights. And I literally shook my head. I said, yes, it is. I then said, do you think I wake up at fucking 3:30 and 4 a.m. every single day of a year excited and keen to get out of bed? No, I don't. I love my job. I love what I do. I love working hard. I love grinding. I love chasing goals, but I don't fucking love getting up at 3:30. However, in my eyes, the difference between those that are successful in that situation and those who aren't is just the strength of having the perspective that it matters to get up. I want to stay in bed just as much as you do, but I want to get up maybe just that little bit more than I want to stay in bed. It's just as hard for me to open my eyes and get out of bed as it would be for you, but I just change the perspective on it. I don't expect that I have to wake up cheering and so fucking ecstatic to get out of bed. I just have the perspective that I need to do it. I just need to get up. There's shit to do. I want to be ahead of people. I want to make 10 decisions this morning before someone's even made one. I want to action 5 things before everyone around me has even opened their eyes. Still have the same perspective. Still want to stay in bed. Still want to chill. But I also have the ability to see the other perspective that I need it to serve me and be of benefit to me. Now, this is a discussion topic I've had a lot of clash with a lot of people, and it is the statement that I personally feel inside me that every single situation you have can have a positive drawn from it. Can. Doesn't mean that the positive outweighs the negative. Doesn't mean that the good overruns the bad. Doesn't mean that you should see it to be a positive situation. But I so strongly feel deep inside that every situation, good, bad, or neutral, can serve you in a positive sense. Now, I'm not trying to be a fucking toxic positivity coach or individual and have you go, fuck, he's one of those people that get out of bed and grind and everything serves you. Like, that's not it. But through the lens of perspective, every situation does have the silver lining. Everything you do, good or bad, can serve you in a progressive response if you allow it to. I've worked with an individual who lost a young family member, and it was a very horrific situation for them. And I never really said this to them directly, but it was always something I thought. And they had so much negativity tied to that event that it was just purely, completely no positive response from it. Now, again, I want to be careful saying this because I'm not saying what happened is a good thing or it's a positive situation, but there can be things drawn from it that could be good for you or others. This individual now literally saves lives. That's their job. They literally have expanded into running a fucking huge company to impact people's health and safety and well-being. So again, shit situation, but through my perspective, good came from it. Same thing again, to chat about it on another episode. Same thing with my father. Shit as fuck situation, but good things came from it. Same thing with anyone who's experienced a heartbreak. Shit situation, but something's good has come from it. Something good has resulted from it. Whether that's been you stepping into a self-discovery journey, whether that's been the lessons you've learned to never be treated that way again, whether that's brought you a partner that is just a million times more aligned to you, good has still come from it. So sit there just for a sec and I want you to think of a real shitty situation, something you've experienced really fucking average, really crap, and just try and see if anything positive has come from it. Just think for 1 second, and I know you're thinking about it right now. Has there ever been anything good that stemmed from that really shit situation? Because I could sit here all day and give you example after example after example. I know friends who have lost family members who now do massive fucking stage talks. I know individuals who, or an individual per se, who was in a shark attack, horrific situation, but now does TED Talk based stage talks within Australia. I know people who have gone bankrupt, who have built a business that are fucking killing it now. I know people who have been divorced, who lost half of everything they owned, but have now built an empire 4 times the size of what the original one was. I know young girls who have split up with their partners and thought it was the end of the world, who are now on self-development journeys and fucking killing it. There's so many different examples. Like I experience it every single day. In the X amount of hours of face-to-face I do and the X amount of conversations I have with my online individuals, it is always about perspective. It is always about them explaining something and me explaining something and then us combining that to create a new outcome. I'm not the positive saint where you come to me and I'll give you the better perspective. That's not what I'm fucking saying. And that's not what I do. I don't think I'm a godsend individual that has the best perspective. Come to me and I'll fix your life and change that. No. But I'm educated and aware enough to question you on a situation to have you see it different. I'm educated and aware enough to be able to see both sides of the coin. I'm not oblivious or too arrogant to see that. I've had recent conversations about things in my life that I really don't want for my future, that everyone really wants, that it's just the social norm. But I'm not arrogant to know that the way I think and feel about those specifics is different. I know that I am the minority when talking about those situations. I'm not sitting here with the perspective of, nah, fuck you guys, I've got the key to life, I know where I'm going, this is it. It's not that at all. I can see both sides. I see both sides of every single fucking situation I go through. Every single one. Every argument, progression, positive, negative, because I choose to. Because the more I educate myself on those specific events, the wider my knowledge becomes, the more conditioned to being open I evolve into. I really want you this week to just try and see both sides. You might have a bad situation and it's probably warranted your tears and your upset and your hatred potentially, but just try and see the positive that might come from it. If it's a positive, try and see the negative. If it's regressive, try see the progressive. If it's progressive, try see the regressive. Just open your mind, open your eyes to being open to seeing both sides because it serves you better. It educates you more. It makes you more aware of what you can do better in the future, and what you can do that's more aligned and more serving for you. I want season 2 episodes to be a little bit shorter. And like I said, I'm not having every single episode give you all the answers or have a full 360 complete conversation. I might want to just walk to 180 and allow you to close the circle yourself. But I'm just trying to spark an idea in today. I'm trying to elevate you in thinking a little bit different about a situation. Everything we do has an A and a B. Every single situation, I so strongly believe and feel, can have a positive, progressive aspect drawn from it. Now, you might be sitting there after having cried the whole week of real shit and hard and challenging situations, and that sucks, and I feel for you, but something good is going to come from it. And if you don't believe that or trust that, that's okay. I'm not expecting you to. I'm not telling you to either, but I can do that for you within myself, because I know something good will come from it. You might not be able to see it now, but it could come for you down the line. Most of the shitty things I experienced early in my life weren't progressive till years later. Now I'm talking 6 years later, 8 years later, 10 years later. It doesn't always have to serve you then and there, but it can be progressive down the line. So one thing I really want to leave you on is when you experience, don't just see it through the initial emotional lens that you lock onto. I really want you to expand your mind, open up your eyes to allow yourself to see the whole scope of situations, the whole scope of the dynamics involved. In a future episode, I do want to talk about emotional lenses and logical lenses, but I'll do that in time. I really want to have that episode be what I want it to be, and there's a little bit more I need to do within myself to allow it to serve you in the way I want it to. Perspective is a choice if you choose it and want it to be progressive for you. Perspective is also the result of experiences, safety nets, and the exposure to the years of your life, good and bad, hard and easy. There's a set perspective in you, but you always have the option to change and choose your perspective. That's why when I've worked with people, they've gone from thinking that they are weak and unable to then now truly thinking they are strong and so capable. It's not this magic flip of your fingers. It's hard work, and it's slowly evolving and changing your perspective. Your perspective of this episode might be, it was a good one. Could be, it was a shit one. Could be, what the fuck was he talking about? You maybe were only focused on the amount of times I said perspective, but I know it will serve you in time. I know something good will come from this for you. I'm not here to give you the answers. I'm here to spark a thought. I'm here to put something out there for you to be able to grab or push away. I appreciate you tuning in for season 2, episode 2, perspective, mindset, that everything has a positive potential tied to it. This is one of the final episodes in the current studio. There's a new studio that's going to be in probably episode 4 or 5. But this place has served fucking amazing. This studio office has served great. I appreciate you tuning in. Big fucking love. Open your perspective. Allow your mind to see more than just the initial thought. I'm fucking proud of you. I appreciate you listening, and I'll see you in the next one.